I am sitting in the dark kitchen of the little blue house on Maple Lane. The only light coming from the street lamp outside and the cold blue glow of my ancient flip phone pressed to my ear. My fingers are so swollen with arthritis tonight that I can barely feel the buttons. But I know this number by heart. I always will. Claire answers on the fourth ring. Breathless. Irritated. Mom? It's almost midnight. I swallow the lump that has lived in my throat for months. I know what time it is. Honey, I saw the bank alert on my tablet. Another $35,000 moved out of my savings this morning. The memo line said, Marcus, Series B round. Silence. Then the sound of a door closing on her end. The click, like a coffin lid. Mom, we talked about this. Marcus's company is about to close the biggest deal of his life. This is the final push. You said you wanted to help. Her voice is smooth, practiced. The same tone she used at 7 years old when she swore she hadn't eaten the last cookie even though the chocolate was still on her chin. I said I wanted to help with groceries, I whisper. With the light bill when it got shut off last winter. Not everything I have left in this world. Another silence. Longer this time. I can almost hear her thinking. Old woman. Sentimental. Dramatic. Mom. You're overreacting. It's an investment. You'll get it back tenfold. You always said you wanted me to be secure. I said I wanted you to be happy, I correct her. And my voice cracks wide open. Not rich. Happy. She sighs the way people sigh at toddlers having tantrums. Look, I'm in the middle of something. I'll call you tomorrow. Okay? Love you. Bye. The line goes dead before I can answer. I sit there in the dark until the phone screen fades to black. And then I do something I haven't done since the night Richard died. I lay my head down on the kitchen table and cry the way only old women cry. Silent, shaking, hopeless. The kind of crying that feels like it will tear the heart right out of the chest and leave a hollow place no one will ever fill again. My name is Eleanor Marie Hayes. I am 81 years old. And tonight my only child just stole the last piece of safety I had left in this world. If you are reading these words, wherever you are, Manila, Glasgow, Iowa, Sao Paulo, a tiny village in Kerala, please do one thing for this broken old woman. Hit subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell me the name of the town you're in right now. Tell me your mother's name. Tell me if she is still alive so I can pray for her tonight. Because I need to know I am not screaming alone into an empty universe. This is my story, told in my own trembling voice. Every raw and bleeding detail. Starting tonight, the night I finally understood that the little girl I once rocked to sleep had grown into a stranger who would watch me starve if it bought her one more zero on her bank balance. Part 1 begins now. I was 31 when Claire was born. Widowed 11 months. And already so tired I sometimes forgot what daylight felt like. Richard died on a Tuesday in November. Crushed under a steel beam that should never have been lifted that day. The foreman said it was an accident. The settlement said $12,000 and we are sorry for your loss. I used $8,000. For the funeral and the rest to keep the heat on while I carried his daughter. Labor lasted 38 hours. They gave me nothing for the pain except ice chips and pity. When they finally laid her on my chest, slick and squalling, she stopped crying the second her cheek touched my skin. The nurse laughed and said, "Well, she knows her mama." I looked into those slate green eyes and made a promise I have spent 50 years trying to keep. I've got you forever, little girl. No matter what. I meant it then. I still mean it now. Even though forever has turned into a weapon. We came home to this same little blue house 3 days later. The furnace coughed like an old smoker. The windows rattled in the wind. But it was ours. Paid for with Richard's overtime and dreams. I sold his truck, his fishing rods, his good winter coat, I learned to make 1 pound of hamburger last 4 meals. I learned to smile at the cashier when I had to put back the box of cereal Claire pointed at with her chubby finger because we were $3 short. She never knew we were poor. I made sure of that. I worked 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. at St. Mary's Hospital, bathing strangers who cried for mothers long dead, changing sheets soaked with every kind of sorrow. I slept 3 hours while Claire was at preschool, then picked her up and played until supper. We ate macaroni with cut-up hot dogs and called it fancy pasta. She thought it was a treat. Every payday I put $20 in a Maxwell house can behind the flour. College, I wrote on a strip of masking tape. By the time she graduated high school, that can held $28,412. When she opened the acceptance letter from state, she screamed and jumped up and down in this very kitchen, knocking over the sugar bowl. I cried so hard I had to sit down on the linoleum floor. She knelt beside me, arms around my neck, whispering, "You did this, Mommy. You did this for me." I believed her. I always believed her. Law school came next. The scholarship didn't cover everything. I sold Richard's boat, the last thing of his I still had, and paid the difference. She graduated magna cum laude. I sat in the auditorium in the same navy dress I wore to her father's funeral because it still fit, and because I wanted him to see her through my eyes. She looked straight at me when they called her name and mouthed, "I love you." I believed that too. Then came Marcus. Boat shoes. No socks. A smile that never quite reached his eyes. When they announced their engagement, Claire brought him here for Sunday pot roast. He looked around our living room like he was mentally calculating square footage. "Quaint," he said. I should have thrown the gravy boat at his head. Instead I gave them the college money for their wedding gift. Every penny. Wrapped in a card that said, "For the future you deserve." Claire cried and hugged me so hard my hat fell off. Marcus shook my hand like we had just closed escrow. The first loan came 6 months later. Then the second. Then the kitchen remodel. The honeymoon. The Series A. The Series B. The bridge round. The friends and family that was only ever me. I kept signing. I kept believing this would be the last time. I kept telling myself love means never having to say no. Tonight the bank alert glowed on my tablet like an accusation. $35,000 transferred to C&M Ventures LLC. Memo. Marcus, Series B final close. I stared at it until the numbers blurred. Then I called her, and she told me I was overreacting. This is only part 1. My loves. There are darker nights still to come. Nights of glossy brochures and lemon-scented lobbies. Of one-eyed teddy bears and forged signatures. Of a mother learning too late that forever sometimes has an expiration date written in invisible ink. Stay with me. Comment your city. Whisper your mother's name into the void so I can carry it with me when the dark gets too heavy. Because tomorrow I will tell you how I lost my house, my savings, and the last shred of my little girl's soul. And how, at 81 years old, I finally decided to fight back. This is Eleanor Hayes, from the little blue house that isn't mine anymore. Beginning the story I should have told decades ago. Hold my hand. I'm terrified, but I'm not done yet. I didn't sleep after Claire hung up on me that midnight. I sat in the kitchen until the street lamp went off at 5:47 a.m. and the first gray light crawled across the table like a guilty thing. My coffee went cold. The house creaked around me the way old houses do when they know they are about to be betrayed. At 9:03 a.m. the doorbell rang. I knew who it was before I opened the door. Only one person rings my bell with that sharp, impatient rhythm. Claire stood on the porch in sunglasses even though the sun was barely up. She held 2 paper cups from the fancy coffee place downtown. The one where a latte costs more than I used to spend on groceries for a week. "Peace offering," she said, thrusting one toward me. The cup was still hot. I didn't take it. She stepped inside anyway, the way people do when they are used to being forgiven before they even ask. Mom, you scared me last night. You sounded unhinged. Unhinged. That was the word she used for the mother who had once walked 3 miles in the snow to buy medicine for her croup. I closed the door. My hands shook so badly I could barely turn the knob. I'm not unhinged, Claire. I'm broke. There is a difference. She set both coffees on the table, took off the sunglasses, and gave me the smile that used to get her extra cookies when she was 6. Okay, cards on the table. She pulled a thick manila folder from her designer tote. Marcus's company is 24 hours from closing a $4 million round. If we miss this window, it all collapses. We need one more bridge. Just 90 days. Mom, 90 days and you'll have your money back plus interest. I brought the promissory note. Look, quote. She slid a crisp document across the table. My name was already typed in the lender blank. The amount, $127,000. Every dime left in my savings account after the last bridge that never got repaid. I stared at the paper until the letters swam. I don't have $127,000 anymore, I said quietly. You took 35 last night. That leaves 92. Claire didn't even blink. Then 92. We'll make it work. She said it the way someone says, we'll make it work, when they mean, you will make it work. I felt something inside me snap. Not loud, not dramatic, just a small, clean break like an old bone finally giving up. No, I said. The word felt strange in my mouth. I had not said it to her since she was 14 and wanted to dye her hair purple. Claire's smile froze. Excuse me? Quote, no, Claire, I'm done. Her face changed in the space of a heartbeat. The loving daughter mask slipped. And underneath was something colder. Something that looked frighteningly like contempt. Mom, you don't understand. If this round fails, Marcus and I lose everything. Our condo, our credit, our future. Do you want your only child on the street? Quote, I laughed then. It came out cracked and ugly. I have been on the street before. Claire, when your father died, I had $300 in the bank and a baby on the way. I didn't steal from my mother to keep a roof over our heads. Her eyes narrowed. This isn't stealing. It's family helping family. Family helping family doesn't empty the other person's account while they sleep. She stood up so fast the chair scraped backward. Fine. Be selfish. Sit here in your crumbling house with your cracked linoleum and your 30-year-old furniture and rot. See if I care. She grabbed her bag, but paused at the door. You'll change your mind. You always do. She left the coffees behind. They sat there getting cold. 2 cardboard cups with my daughter had bought with money she took from me the night before. I cried again that afternoon. But this time the tears felt different. Sharper. Angrier. That was the day I started keeping a notebook. Every transfer. Every excuse. Every promise. I wrote it all down in the spiral notebook I once used for grocery lists. Page after page of Claire's beautiful betrayal. 2 weeks later the lilacs bloomed. I remember because the scent drifted through the open windows and made me think of funerals. Claire came back on a Saturday morning with Marcus in tow. He carried a glossy brochure thick as a magazine. They sat on my couch like they were staging an intervention. Mom, Claire began, voice syrupy sweet again. We found the perfect solution. The brochure was for Willow Crest Gardens. Photographs of smiling white-haired people playing cards under palm trees. A chef in a tall hat. A salon where ladies got manicures. It's resort living, Marcus said, flashing that practiced smile. And the best part? We sell this house. Roll the equity into a life care contract. And you never have to worry about money again. I looked at the cover photo. A woman my age laughing with a daughter who looked nothing like Claire. How much? I asked. Claire flipped to the pricing page like a seasoned saleswoman. Entry fee is $480,000. Plus monthly fees. But the house will cover most of it. And we can use your remaining savings for the balance. You'll be set for life. Set for life. I stared at the roses outside my window. My roses. The ones I had planted the year Claire started kindergarten. They were just opening. Deep red. Fragrant. Mine. And what happens to the money left over after the entry fee? I asked. Claire and Marcus exchanged a glance so quick I almost missed it. There might not be much left over, Claire said. The market, you know. I laughed again, louder this time. So let me make sure I understand. You want me to sell the house my husband and I paid for with 40 years of blood and overtime. You want me to hand over every penny I have left in this world. And in return I get to live in a beige room that smells like lemon cleaner while you and Marcus buy a bigger condo. Marcus cleared his throat. Eleanor, it's not like that. Quote, it is exactly like that. Claire's face went red. You are being paranoid and dramatic. Mom, this is for your own good. The stairs are dangerous. The furnace is shot. You fell last month. Quote, I fell because my knees are bad from working double shifts so you could go to law school. Quote, the words exploded out of me before I could stop them. They hung in the air like smoke. Claire stood up. We're trying to help you. No, I said again. The word tasted better the second time. You're trying to help yourselves to what's mine. Marcus tried next. He leaned forward, elbows on knees, voice soft and reasonable. Eleanor, let's be realistic. You can't stay here alone much longer. What happens when you break a hip? Who's going to take care of you? Claire works 80 hours a week. I travel. You need full-time care. I looked at my daughter. Is that true, Claire? Do you work 80 hours a week? Because your Instagram shows an awful lot of brunches and tropical vacations. Her mouth opened, closed, for the first time in years. She looked almost ashamed. I took the brochure, tore it neatly in half, then in half again, and let the pieces flutter to the floor like dead petals. Get out of my house, I said. They left without the coffees again. That night I called the bank and put a freeze on every account that still had my name on it. I changed the passwords. I removed Claire as a signatory. My hands shook so badly I had to ask the nice young man on the phone to repeat himself 3 times. When I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in decades. Power. I was still terrified, but for the first time in years, I was terrified on my own terms. 3 days later Claire showed up with a different folder. This one held a durable power of attorney and a deed transfer. Just for emergencies, she said. Eyes bright with tears that never quite fell. In case something happens to you and I need to act fast. The lilacs were at their peak. Heavy and sweet through the screen door. I looked at my daughter. My beautiful, brilliant daughter. And saw a stranger wearing her face. I took the pen she offered. And for the last time, I signed. Because even then, even after everything, I still believed love meant never having to say no. I was wrong. That signature was the beginning of the end. Hold my hand, my dears. Part 3 is coming. And it gets darker. Comment your city below. Tell me your mother's name. Tell me you are still here with me. Because the next time Claire came, she brought movers. And I never slept in my little blue house again. I remember the exact minute my life ended and began again. It was a Tuesday in early May. 9:17 a.m. The mover's truck idled in my driveway like a white hearse. I was still in my robe. The faded pink one with tiny roses that Richard bought me the Christmas before he died. I had been up all night clutching the one-eyed teddy bear Claire slept with until she was 11. I knew they were coming. Claire had texted the day before. Mom, The closing is tomorrow. We hired a company to help you pack. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. Love you. Love you. 2 words she threw around like loose change. The doorbell rang 3 short, angry bursts. I opened it to find Claire in sunglasses, clipboard, and 2 men in gray polo shirts that said, "Gentle transitions, we move memories." Claire didn't even look at me. She stepped inside like she already owned the place. Morning. Mom. We have a lot to do. The new owners want possession Friday. Friday. I had 72 hours to disappear. One of the movers, a boy young enough to be my grandson, gave me a shy, pitying smile. "Ma'am, we'll be real careful with your things." I wanted to tell him there was no careful way to rip a woman's life out by the roots, but my throat had closed. Claire walked straight to the kitchen and started opening cabinets, ticking items off her list. Dishes stay with the house. Small appliances stay. Personal items only. Personal items only. 52 years reduced to what would fit in a 10 by 10 beige room. I drifted from room to room like a ghost. In Claire's old bedroom, I touched the faint pencil marks on the doorframe where I measured her height every birthday until she turned 16 and declared it babyish. In the hallway, I ran my fingers over the dent in the plaster from the day she learned to ride her tricycle and crashed into the wall, laughing so hard she wet her pants. In the living room, I stood where Richard's recliner used to be and smelled phantom pipe tobacco. That hadn't been there in 34 years. Claire found me there. "Mom, we need you to sign the final papers." She spread them on the dining table. The same table where we ate Thanksgiving turkey. Where she did homework. Where I once stitched up her knee with sewing thread when she fell off her bike. There were so many pages. My eyes couldn't focus. Power of attorney, already notarized with my forged signature. Deed transfer, my name removed. Replaced by C&M Holdings LLC. Bill of sale for personal property, listing my grandmother's china. My wedding silver. Richard's war medals, valued at $800 total. I looked up at her. "You sold my memories for $800? Quote. Claire didn't flinch. "It's just stuff. Mom. You won't need it where you're going." Where I was going. Willow Crest Gardens. Room 214. Beige walls. Plastic mattress. Shared bathroom down the hall. I tried one last time. "Claire. Please. Let me stay. I'll take the upstairs bedroom. You and Marcus can rent the downstairs. Use the money for your company." Quote. She laughed. Actually laughed. "Mom. This house sold for $580,000. After commissions and your entry fee, there won't be anything left. You're lucky we found a place that would take you with your limited resources." Limited resources. The woman who once worked 60-hour weeks so her daughter could have braces and ballet lessons now had limited resources. I felt the fight drain out of me like air from a punctured lung. One of the movers came in carrying flattened boxes. "Where do you want these, ma'am?" he asked Claire. "Claire. Not me." She pointed to my bedroom. "Start there." I watched them tape my life into cardboard. My wedding dress. The butter yellow glider I rocked Claire in. The Christmas ornaments we made from popsicle sticks and glitter. The Afghan my own mother crocheted while she was dying of cancer. All labeled "Donate" in Claire's neat lawyer handwriting. At 2 p.m. they brought in a hospital bed for the ambulance transport. I hadn't agreed to an ambulance. I could still walk, slowly, with my walker. Claire saw my face. "It's policy, Mom. Liability." They strapped me onto the gurney like an invalid. The last thing I saw as they wheeled me out was Mrs. Kowalski next door standing on her porch. Hands over her mouth, tears running down her wrinkled cheeks. She raised one hand in a small, helpless wave. I tried to wave back but the straps held me down. The ambulance smelled of bleach and old vomit. Claire rode up front with the driver. She never once looked back. Willow Crest Gardens looked exactly like the brochure. Only the smiling white-haired people weren't smiling when you saw them up close. They had eyes like winter windows. They assigned me a room the size of my old pantry. One window overlooking a parking lot. One narrow bed. One dresser with a broken drawer. Claire set my suitcase down. Kissed the air beside my cheek. "You'll love it here. I'll visit every Sunday. I promise." She left before I could answer. Sunday never came. I sat on the plastic mattress and opened the suitcase. Everything I owned in the world fit inside with room to spare. At the very bottom, wrapped in one of Richard's old t-shirts, was the one-eyed teddy bear. The movers had missed it. I held him to my chest and finally let myself scream. It came out soundless. In places like this they give you pills if you scream out loud. That first night I didn't sleep. I sat by the window and watched cars come and go in the parking lot. Each headlight a small moving star carrying someone to a home I no longer had. At 3:04 a.m., the exact time Claire was born, I took out my little tablet, the one the church lady helped me buy, and started writing this story. Because someone had to remember I was still alive. Someone had to remember the truth. My dears, this is only part 3. There are still forged checks, stolen pensions, a courtroom, and one final betrayal that will break what's left of your heart to come. But tonight I need you to do something for me. Look at the clock. If it is after midnight where you are, go to your mother's room, or call her, or message her, and tell her you love her. Tell her before it's too late. Tell her before she ends up in a place where the only visits come from strangers on the internet. Comment your city. Tell me her name. Tell me you are still reading. Because tomorrow I will tell you how I discovered exactly how much my daughter stole. And how I decided an old woman with nothing left to lose can still be dangerous. This is Eleanor Hayes. Room 214. Willow Crest Gardens. The roses are gone. The house is gone. But I am not gone yet. They say the moment you realize you've been robbed your own mother is the moment you stop being human. I wonder if Claire ever had that moment. It was 6 weeks after they locked me in Willow Crest. 6 Sundays with no Claire. 6 empty chairs in the lobby where I sat in my good cardigan and lipstick that tasted like chalk. On the 7th Monday the billing lady, Mrs. Patel, knocked on my door holding a manila folder the way a priest holds bad news. "Mrs. Hayes," she said, voice soft as flannel, "we need to talk about your account." I thought she meant the cafeteria tab. I had careful notes. $11.40 for the chicken salad I couldn't finish. $3.25 for the carton of milk I spilled when my hands shook too hard. I followed her down the hall like a child to the principal's office. Her little room smelled of cardamom tea and fear. She turned the computer screen toward me. The screen showed a ledger. My name at the top in bold letters. Below it, a column of numbers marching downward like soldiers carrying away everything I had ever saved. May 14th transfer to C&M Holdings LLC minus $312,000. May 15th transfer to C&M Holdings LLC minus $87,000. May 16th wire to Neiman Marcus minus $9,412.67. May 20th wire to Four Seasons Maui minus $28,119. May 25th cash withdrawal. Claire E. Hayes. POA. Minus $40,000. And on until the final balance glowed red. $312.47. Mrs. Patel's voice came from very far away. "Mrs. Hayes. Eleanor. Are you all right?" Quote. I made a sound I didn't know I had left in me. $312,000. Gone in 11 days. She She promised it would last my whole life, I whispered. Mrs. Patel pushed a box of tissues toward me. I'm so sorry. Honey, we see this more than you can imagine. But we can fight it. I sat on the bed with the one-eyed Teddy in my lap and understood my daughter had murdered me. Without raising a hand. That night I opened the tablet and wrote a note titled Evidence. I wrote down every date, every loan, every promise. I wrote until my fingers cramped. Then I did something I had never done in 81 years. I got angry. Real anger. The kind that burns cold and clean. The next morning I wheeled myself to the activities room. I opened an email account named mapleanimam214@gmail.com and wrote my first message. My daughter stole my house and my life savings. I am 81 and I have $312 left. Please help. I sent it everywhere. On the fourth day, a woman from Adult Protective Services called. Marisol Ortega. She told me not to speak to Claire. She arrived Thursday. She took notes. She asked hard questions. Did I sign a POA? Yes. Did I understand it? No. Did I agree to transfer the house? Never. This is evidence, she said. Then, Mrs. Hayes, do you want to press charges? Quote, yes, I said. They froze accounts, pulled records, moved me for safety. Claire stormed into Willow Crest screaming. How could you do this to me? Quote, you did it to yourself, I said. And Marcus left me, she spat. She left in fury. And I smiled. Old women with nothing to lose are the most dangerous creatures on earth. My loves. This is only part 4. There is still a courtroom and a final document that will break Claire's perfect life. Stay with me. Tomorrow I will tell you how an 81-year-old woman took back what was hers. This is Eleanor Hayes. Room 214. I'm still breathing. And now I'm breathing fire. The day I buried my daughter while she still breathed. Part 1. They scheduled the hearing for a Tuesday in October. Because the universe has a cruel sense of humor. I was 82 by then. My hair had gone from silver to snow. My hands shook so badly the bailiff had to help me raise my right hand to be sworn in. But I walked into that courtroom on my own 2 feet. Wearing the same navy dress I wore to Claire's law school graduation. Because I wanted her to remember who I used to be before she turned me into a beggar. The courtroom smelled of lemon polish and fear. Claire sat at the defendant's table in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my first car. Marcus was not beside her. He had filed for divorce the week the subpoenas landed. Claire did not look at me. Not once. The judge was a woman. Maybe 60. With short iron gray hair and eyes like winter river ice. Her nameplate read Hun. Lydia Moreno. When she spoke, the room went still. This is a petition to revoke durable power of attorney, set aside fraudulent real estate transfers, and impose constructive trust on misappropriated funds belonging to Eleanor Marie Hayes. Let's be clear. We are here because an elderly woman was robbed by her only child. I have read the filings. I am not happy. Claire's lawyer, a man with a $3,000 watch and no soul, stood up. Your Honor, my client acted in good faith under a valid power of attorney to provide for her mother's long-term care. Quote, Judge Moreno cut him off with one raised hand. Counsel, I have seen the bank records. I have seen the Maui vacation charged the day after Mrs. Hayes was moved to assisted living. Save your breath for someone who hasn't read the evidence. I was called first. They wheeled me to the witness stand. I refused the chair. I wanted to stand while I buried my daughter. David Chen asked me to tell the court, in my own words, what happened. I looked straight at Claire for the first time. And I began. I gave birth to that woman on October 13, 1969, at 3:04 in the morning. She was 8 pounds 2 ounces and she stopped crying the moment they laid her on my chest. I promised her that day I would love her forever. I kept that promise. She did not. My voice did not shake. I told them everything. How I worked nights so she could have new shoes. How I sold my husband's boat to pay for law school. How I signed every paper she ever put in front of me because I believed love meant never saying no. How she used my love like a credit card and maxed it out. I held up the spiral notebook. This is every dollar she took from me. Written in my own hand the day it happened. I may be old, but I am not senile. Then I told them about the Tuesday the movers came. About the ambulance ride. About the $312 left in my name when she was done. When I finished, the courtroom was silent except for someone crying in the back row. Claire's lawyer tried to cross-examine me. He asked if I was confused when I signed the power of attorney. He asked if I understood the house needed to be sold for my care. He asked if I was angry and seeking revenge. I looked him dead in the eye. The only thing I'm confused about, sir, is how the little girl who once cried when we ran over a squirrel grew up to steal her mother's home while she watched. He sat down quickly. Claire took the stand next. She was pale, beautiful, shaking. She told a different story. She said I begged her to take the money. She said I was forgetful, wandering, a danger to myself. She said the Maui trip was a much-needed break after years of caring for me. She cried on cue. Perfect lawyer tears. Judge Moreno was unmoved. Ms. Hayes, the bank records show $28,119 charged to your mother's account for your Maui vacation the day after. You moved her to Willow Crest. Did your mother accompany you to Hawaii? Quote, no, Your Honor. Did your mother ever leave the grounds of Willow Crest after May 14th? Quote, no, Your Honor. So you took a luxury vacation with money you transferred from your mother's account the day you institutionalized her? Quote, Claire whispered. It was a mistake. A $28,000 mistake? Judge Moreno said. The gavel came down like thunder. Power of attorney revoked. House title voided. All funds ordered returned. Constructive trust imposed. Criminal referral issued. I watched them cuff my daughter. She finally looked at me. I did not look away. Claire was taken out the side door. I never saw her again. The money came back in pieces over the next year. Some from the sale of her condo. Some from Marcus's settlement when he turned over documents to avoid his own charges. Some from Claire's 401k that the judge froze and liquidated. It was never about the money. It was about the roses that got bulldozed. It was about the height marks on the pantry door that are forever gone. It was about the little girl who promised she would never leave her mother alone. I bought the little blue house back 6 months ago. The new owners had put in a pool where my garden used to be. But the house still remembered me. The walls still held my ghosts. I moved back on a Tuesday with nothing but my suitcase and the one-eyed teddy bear. I planted new roses along the fence. They are small now, but they will grow. I am 83. My knees are bad. My hands shake. But every morning I walk to the mailbox on my own 2 feet. And every evening I sit on the porch and read your comments. You kept me alive. Your messages. Your cities. Your mother's names. Maria, Rose, Amina, Dolores, Sunita, Margaret, became the visits Claire never made. Some of you sent cards. Some of you sent garden seeds. One woman in Scotland knitted me a shawl the color of lilacs. I wear it when the nights get cold. Claire is out now. She sends letters from whatever apartment she can afford. They all say the same thing. I'm sorry. I was scared. I miss you. Can we start over? Quote, I keep them in a box under my bed. I have not answered a single one. Some doors, once closed, stay closed. Tonight the roses are blooming again. I can smell them through the screen door as I type this final part. This is Eleanor Hayes, back in the little blue house on Maple Lane, signing off the story I never wanted to tell but needed to survive. If your mother is still alive, call her tonight. If you are a mother waiting for a child who never comes, know that you are loved by strangers who would sit with you in the lobby every Sunday if they could. Love is not a blank check. Love is not silence. Love is not forever if only one person is keeping the promise. Thank you for walking this road with me. The lamp is warm. The roses are red. And I am finally home. The story is finished. But I am still here. And so are you. Good night, my dears. Be kinder than my daughter was. Be braver than I was for far too long. I love you all. Eleanor.